You are listening to This Week in Guitar, where we discuss the latest and greatest guitar videos on the net. Brought to you by GuitarApp.com. Hey Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, I think. Are we starting hold on a sec. How are we starting?
That's exactly the way we have started. We're not restarting.
Oh God.
That's how we've started the show.
Okay, I'm doing very good.
We play the cards as they're dealt. Okay. I've been watching a couple of things on YouTube this week. I know you have too. So hit me. What's the first thing that caught your eye on YouTube this week?
Well, I know NAMM is going on. There's loads of stuff there. There's a few YouTubers that aren't there actually. Surprisingly, Andertons didn't go this year, which is insane. But Rotem Sivan, he's one of the jazzers. He went to NAMM and he's talked to all the YouTubers. He went to Paul Davids, Jens Larsen, SamuraiGuitarist, MikeCole, and he asked them to come up with an emotional exercise that helps you connect with music through guitar.
Did you watch each of the responses? What's the takeaway here?
I don't know. I thought it was an interesting question to pose to guitar players. Like, you could see the different types of guitar players and the answers. Like, he also asked another question, technical exercises, which didn't interest me as much, but the responses to the emotional guitar playing is pretty interesting. Singing what you play, being able to like recognize what note you're playing in a chord. I think Jens Larsen was saying play rubato, like, which means free time. You just play anything and don't have any pressure on yourself to like hit the next chord. You're just meandering along, and then you'll hit upon a note, and then you might stumble upon a chord that way, and you fall in and out of all these different things harmonically, and you're just kind of discovering as you go. And if you sing as you go, you'll be internalizing all the notes, and it seems like that's how how I do it on the piano anyway. I've started playing a bit of piano. I just hit a note and let my right hand wander, and then it'll stumble upon something which will trigger another thought, and then you kind of end up discovering all these things. It's great.
That reminds me of a thing Frank Zappa used to say. It wasn't related to just writing music or, playing music on his own, but it was more when he was playing live and during the improvised sections of music. He recorded everything, but he had this concept he called zenchronicity. I'm probably butchering it, but he described it as that rare moment when during an improvisation, everybody is playing just the right note. And it kind of it opens up this section from the heavens. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he used to go back and listen to the live recordings, particularly the improvised sections, looking for these specific parts of zenchronicity, and they would often then form the basis of a new song. So I think the likes of Black Napkins started off as maybe a solo in another song, and then bits of it that were particularly fortuitous, he worked into a new song. But it reminds me of what you're talking about there. I think you told me before, maybe from your jazz training, did you tell me that they used to teach like that they used to say the way to break out of the pentatonic box or the muscle memory box was to let your vocal melody dictate where the solo would go than to let your muscle memory dictate where the solo would go?
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on ear training and following your ear as opposed to the instrument. But you just reminded me of Paul Gilbert's technique. He's got so sick of playing the same melodies on guitar, like falling into the same shapes. He started writing all his melodies on kazoo.
That's a really good idea. I'm the worst stuck in a box kind of guy, and I really struggle to try and play through chord changes and things like that, no matter how many hacks I learn from Jens Larsen. The things I do notice is in the rare occasions where I'm recording music, and I might not even be the guitar player, I might be the bass player, and you're listening to what the guitar player has just tracked down, and then you hear an overdub that isn't in the music. It might just be harmonics from the amp, and they'll kind of create this melody of their own, and in your mind you're going, oh my God, we have to do that as an overdub. You might do it as a vocal, or you might do it as a keyboard, but those notes have to go in there somewhere as an overdub. I always hear those things more when I don't have a guitar in my hand than when I do have a guitar in my hand. If I have a guitar in my hand, my hands just want to take over and do the only thing they know, which is pentatonic shapes. So sometimes it actually, it pays to take the guitar out of your hands and maybe, like you said, do it on a kazoo or even just hum it or some other method. But yeah, I mean, that sounds like great advice.
That's hearing the overtones in the music. That's how Devin Townsend composes. He recorded a whole album called The Puzzle. It's like an experimental album. It's actually mad strange, but he jammed over a drone for an hour in one take. He used to like loop it in the background while he was doing things. And he kept on hearing like these little melodies and the overtones and just these little sonic nuggets. And then he'd record them. And then he started sending them off to all his friends and they'd start recording little pieces. And that's why it's called The Puzzle, obviously. So these sounds emerged and parts came in and it turned into this sonic monster. I can't really listen to it. He said it went over most people's heads, but it was an interesting approach.
I was away this week, but there were a couple of things that caught my eye. And one of them reminded me of something that happened to me. The Casino Guitars guys, they did a video on scams. Apparently scams are on the rise, guitar scams. Everything from in the comments, give away a guitar to other too good to be true offers. And they kind of work through a few of the scams they've been aware of. But it reminds me of a scam that I was involved in a long time ago, actually. Did you ever hear about the Zakk Wylde Epiphone Les Paul scam?
No.
So this was back in the days of, pre-Twitter internet. This is around 2005, 2006. And a couple of us in an office together, all guitar players, we all heard about this thing where a motorbike company, claimed that they were involved with Zakk Wylde and Epiphone, whereby you could put money down now with your credit card and you would receive a little model of a motorbike, like those custom choppers. I know nothing about motorbikes. I was only in it for the guitar. And we heard about it on some forum. But I dutifully punched in my credit card number, gave them my money, and I received a little toy motorbike in the post, which I still have. But I didn't receive any guitar in the post. There ended up being this like forum where all the people who were caught in the scam, and anybody got their guitar yet? Occasionally, one or two mysterious people would go, "Oh yeah, my guitar came," and then they would show pictures of their guitar. The guitars were real. They were like Epiphone Zakk Wylde customs, and they were cool. It was like the Bullseye one and the Buzzsaw one and the Camo one. So in the end, none of us, three of us in the office, none of us got the guitars, but I think we all got the motorbikes. Whatever happened, it just didn't pan out, and the guitars never transpired. But hundreds of people paid whatever it was, $300-400 for these guitars. I think it was pretense that it was eventually they were gonna come. But in the end, they didn't. So that's the...
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, 17 years, they could still come. But yeah, so scams alive and well today, just as they were in yesteryear. What else have you got?
You got to get Rick Beato video in there. And Rick Beato seems to be in England at the moment. So last week he did a tour of Abbey Road. Did you see that?
Oh, I saw the thumbnail, but I haven't watched it. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a tour of Abbey Road with Rick Beato. It's amazing. The room is just big, massive box. Like there's nothing special about it. It's just the history there. But then he went on and did an interview with Andersons, talking about his background. It's great to see him talking about the guitar playing side, because all his videos, they're for, I suppose, a multi-instrumentalist audience. But to hear him actually go into his background about guitar, he taught guitar for years. He was a jazz guitar player. And he moved into producing, and he's still got the chops. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of his shorts, but then this week he's on the pedal show and he goes full into guitar gear. It's a nerd out session about pedals, recording techniques. So like the Andertons one is just all about him and his background, his YouTube channel and the growth there. Then this one is just a big nerd out session. It's great.
And is the Pedal Guys one already released?
Yeah, it's out there, yeah.
I got to see that.
Just seeing him on the other side of an interview, like he's been on a tirade of interviews with all the jazz and rock legends like Steve Gadd, Butch Vig, Keith Jarrett, Pat Metheny, then all the grunge people like Nirvana bass player, what's his name, Chris Novoselic, and Soundgarden and things like that.
Rick could talk to, I think, anybody in the business, whether it's tech or whether it's kind of history of, or whether it's music theory or whether it's production. It doesn't really matter what corner of music it is. He's so knowledgeable about it all and so amicable. He's the kind of guy you'd want to have dinner with. And
well, that's it. All these musicians seem to be coming to him. Like all the jazz legends, I think, are contacting him. Like Keith Jarrett doesn't give any interviews. And then I think one of his relatives showed him a video of Rick Beato talking about him as a player and earned his respect that way. And then I think Keith Jarrett reached out to Rick Beato and then Steve Gadd saw that video, and so they're all coming to him. And you get the impression by the end of the videos they just are enjoying talking with him and they don't want to go. Like especially the Steve Gadd one. I think Steve Gadd was having the time of his life.
Yeah, I think Rick is single-handedly responsible for introducing new generations to classic music from all the genres, not just rock and pop, but jazz as well. I've definitely come across players from Rick videos that I didn't know before, like Michael Brecker is one example. And I saw like one video where Rick breaks down, I can't remember what song it was. Is it called Trip to Bilbao or something like that? But I just went down a rabbit hole and just nerded out on that stuff. And even kind of Herbie Hancock stuff that I hadn't heard before. I think he's really done a service to music appreciation, something that nobody else has managed to do in the last 10 years.
Yeah, he's like the internet historian of rock music and jazz and film music even. He did a great Thomas Newman interview recently.
I think he deserves a Grammy. I don't know if you can get a Grammy for that kind of stuff, but
it's weird. It seems like there's a massive disconnect between that world and YouTube, even though the views, like I think he has 3 million subscribers now for someone just talking about music. It's incredible. Got another video for me, Dan?
Yeah, I just actually just today I was watching a video from Wampler, Ryan Wampler of Wampler Pedals. He had a wonderfully titled video. I think it was something to the effect of, "Is this the future of guitar tone?" And you got to watch a video with a title like that. And it was a really cool video. He was talking about a company called, I don't even know if they're a company per se. It's an open source project called Guitar ML. It's a project, bunch of people. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy now. Is it Keith Lober or something to that effect? We can put the links in the description. But they implemented a bunch of techniques from research papers from Aalto University in Finland, which allow you to the tone of pretty much any signal chain, whether it's pedal plus amp or amp alone, with a relatively easy process, but it's all open source and it's all free. And then there's a huge big tone library as well. So the company or the website, I think, is guitarml.com. Let me just double check that because it's definitely worth going to. Guitarml.com. And Keith Blomer is the name of the guy who came up with this. Who I suppose gave it to the world. The research was originally done in Finland. But it seems like kind of, if you think about the arc of amp modeling, way back when we had the Line 6 stuff and then we had all the copycats. I think Roland even had some amp modeling pretty early on as well. We had like the Behringer stuff, the V-amp, which I'm a big fan of, actually, the V-amp Pro. And then it kind of went into the fractal audio era and how we have the neural DSP stuff and Kemper as well. Kempers obviously are quite pricey, but they're great at what they do. And then all the way to the neural DSP stuff where you can get absolutely amazing plugins. I know you're a big fan of the Corey Wong plugin.
Yeah. It's great to have one that's dedicated to clean guitar sounds. I think the market out there is all metal, and which is great. Like there's so much there, but for clean stuff, I found the Corey Wong one is just feels like it took me a long time to get into the digital amp recreations. I always felt there was something missing, but the Corey Wong one just feels like you're in there with the room, you know.
It might be worth checking this stuff out. Brian gives in this video, a few examples of tone captures he's done. Some of it's cleany kind of stuff, and there's a lot of, you know, overdrive kind of sounds as well. He takes you through the process of how to download their plugin and their test signals, how to set up your DAW, and how to set up your recording hardware in order to capture your own tone prints. So it's basically like an open source Kemper in software form. And then with the tone library as well, I guess you don't even have to capture your own tones. You can just download their plugin and load in the tone library. But the point he makes is that right now the process is still a little bit clunky. You actually need to use Google Colabs, which is the interface onto their massive cloud computing network for training machine learning models. But the instructions are all there, so anyone could do it if you kind of take the time. But I just thought it was amazing that we're kind of at that stage now where literally any tone you care to model doesn't require $3,000 equipment anymore.
Are we at the stage where we can model a tone that is part of a mix, or do we need the isolated track?
I would say that you would still need the isolated track, but even if you have the isolated track, I'm not sure that there are even that many solutions that go just from the isolated track to giving you the tone. I think there are some that get close. If it hasn't already happened, I'm sure it'll be happening soon enough.
Oh, yeah.
Because the track isolation stuff is already getting really, really impressive. It just took off in 2018 when Deezer released an open source model to do track isolation. It's really good on vocals. Not as good on other instruments, but it's only a matter of time. Yeah, so that was the Brian Wampler video. Anything else on your end?
There was one interesting one. You know, Bradley Hall, do you know that guy? He's a character, but you can tell the amount of work that goes into the videos behind the character. Like there's an irreverence about all his videos, or from the perspective of his delivery, but the actual content is seamlessly done. But anyway, the video is about, you know, the new Metallica songs. Have you been checking those out?
I saw the first two that had videos.
There's been a lot of critique about the solos on the tracks. Obviously, any big release is going to get criticized. But he did a video a while ago with some great clickbait title saying like what the guitar solo should sound like or something like that. And he made a video and he created this really incredible, technically amazing guitar solo. And what word came back to him about an article in one of the guitar magazines where Kirk Hammett, the guitar player, actually got wind of all this criticism and I think referenced his video and kind of went on this tirade like, oh man, anyone can practice sweep arpeggios and 7-note groupings and throw them together and create a guitar solo. But if you want to play properly, you just go off the cuff and play with some feel. And he was kind of addressing that through this character, but also kind of getting a bit nuanced. And the character breaks a bit and you see the real Bradley making some great points about the difference between a emotional solo and someone just laying into the pentatonic box with licks that could be copied and pasted over any song.
I gotta check that video out.
It's just kind of an interesting back and forth happening, always entertaining.
I think we're going to put the links to all these videos in the description and anything else we've been talking about. So definitely. You mentioned clickbait there. We're a huge fan of clickbait. between you and I, we've often engineered some clickbait YouTube thumbnails just for fun. So we're going to do a segment called Thumbnail of the Week.
Woo,
Who have you nominated for Thumbnail of the Week?
I have nominated Davey504 for Thumbnail of the Week.
He's pretty classic. What's his thumbnail? I haven't seen this.
It's simple. A lot of the thumbnails I'm seeing, they don't even use text anymore. It's just an image. And the lack of the text even just makes it more intriguing what's going on. But it's pretty clear what he's up to in this one. I don't know if you're staying on top of the Mario movie, which is taking over the world at the moment.
I have not seen it.
Yeah. It's basically the biggest thing in the cinema right now. I knew it would fly right over your head. But Jack Black is playing Bowser. It's an animated movie anyway. And Jack Black is playing Bowser's voice. And he released a song, a love song to Peaches, Mario's love interest, called Peaches. And there's a music video of Jack Black out there in Bowser dress up and just singing the song, and it's absolutely hilarious. And Davey504 has done a cover, but it's on bass, and the thumbnail is simple. It's Davey504 dressed as Bowser. I'll give a quick shout out to Redlight Blue's video, The Guitar Hat Theory, where he's just asking the question, why do all great guitar players have hats? And the thumbnail definitely got me clicking on that one.
What's that one called again?
The Guitar Hat Theory.
The Guitar Hat Theory.
Like, you've got your Edge with their hat. You've got Slash with the hat. Like, Jimi Hendrix had the hat. All the best guitar players just had hats.
So here I am trying to figure out how to play through chord changes, and all I need is a hat.
Exactly.
I'm going to get a hat.
Well, you look like the Edge if you have a hat.
For me, I just scrolled through a couple of our guitar app topics just to see the thumbnail that jumped out at me. And one that jumped out at me was 60 Cycle Hum, finding all the surf guitars at NAMM. And it's a classic YouTube thumbnail. It's got a face with an expression on it. It's got a cool looking guitar, which is very surfy. And it's also got big, colorful writing in a surfy font.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at it now. That is the surfy font.
Yeah, so I think he's really nailed it with all the ingredients of a thumbnail.
Brilliant.
So I'm not even into surf guitars, and I wanted to click on that thumbnail. Okay, that's all for this week. Links in the description. If you got any questions for us, leave them in the comments, and we'll cover the world of YouTube again next week.
Bye.